You know that place, that state, somewhere between being awake and dreaming? It's where your mind is totally alert, but your body is basically a prison. Today, we're going to dive into the strange, fascinating, and honestly pretty horrifying world of sleep paralysis. And we'll be using real, first-hand accounts to try and understand what this waking nightmare is all about.
I'm just curious, because if you have experienced it, you know how intensely personal and terrifying it is. And if you haven't, well, what you're about to hear is a seriously chilling look into some of the mind's darkest corners.
So what is it really? Think of it like a glitch in your sleep cycle. Your brain wakes up, right? But the part of your brain that paralyzes your body during deep REM sleep, to stop you from physically acting out your dreams, it doesn't get the memo. It doesn't switch off. So at its core, sleep paralysis is this terrifying contradiction. You can see, you can hear, you can feel everything around you, but you are completely, utterly helpless.
But just being able to move, that's only the beginning. It's often accompanied by these incredibly vivid hallucinations. It's like your dreams are literally bleeding into your waking reality. And one of the most common, and maybe the scariest, is the feeling or the actual sight of an intruder in the room with you.
So just imagine this for a second. You're awake, but you're frozen. And then you hear a sound. One person described it as robotic yet alive. A noise that just started soft, but then it repeated every 3 seconds, getting louder and closer.
And that sound, it makes him look over at his closet door. A door he never leaves open, by the way. And peering right through the crack is this face. A man with an impossibly wide, smiling mouth, and it's getting closer with every single one of those robotic pulses. And then suddenly the door just slams shut and everything goes silent.
Sometimes the horror isn't even what you can see, it's what you just know is there. In another story, someone felt this pure evil presence coming from their closet. They couldn't even bring themselves to look directly at it, but they could feel this sickening laughter just washing over them in waves. And then, that feeling of dread becomes a tangible horror. All of a sudden, a human head is thrown at him and lands right on his chest, face up. It's a girl he knew from high school. And he's trying to scream, trying to move, trying to get it off of him, but all that comes out are these grunting sounds. He's just trapped there with this gruesome vision.
Okay, so what could possibly be more disturbing than some monster in the dark? Well, how about seeing the face of someone you actually know and love, but it's twisted into something either terrifying or absolutely heartbreaking?
So we've got two really different stories here, but they both involve family. On one side, you have this somber, almost peaceful visit from a loved one who's passed on. But on the other, you have a surreal and frankly frightening vision of family members who are still alive.
This first one is so personal. A young man, he's stressed out, he's grieving, and he wakes up paralyzed. He sees a woman in his room. She walks over, kneels down next to him, and he sees it's his mother's face. And his mom had just passed away 3 weeks before this happened. He's trying so desperately to call out to her, to say something, but he just can't make a sound.
But what happens when the vision isn't about the past? What if it's about the future? This is where this whole phenomenon takes an even stranger turn. What if these visions aren't just your brain processing trauma, but somehow, impossibly, hinting at what's about to happen?
And that brings us to a really mind-bending question. What if these aren't just hallucinations? What if they're echoes, connections between the dream state and actual physical events happening in the real world?
Okay, just consider this sequence of events. A person wakes up, paralyzed, and sees this bizarre, unnerving vision. Their whole family, brother, sister, mom, and dad are towering over the bed, and they're all sobbing. A few days go by, they get into a serious car accident. And then, lying in the hospital, the vision becomes reality. The exact same 4 family members are standing by the bed, looking down at them. The echo, it's just undeniable.
But the connection isn't always some kind of premonition. Sometimes the waking world directly feeds the nightmare. A sound, an image, something you experience right before you fall asleep, that can become the star of your own personal sleep paralysis horror show.
So get this, a group of friends are out and they get spooked by this really weird, off-putting sound coming from a bush. Later that night, one of them wakes up, completely paralyzed, and he hears that exact same sound in his room.
He looks to the foot of his bed, and there's this grotesque, horrific head just floating there, its mouth hanging open, making the very same noise he heard from the bush earlier.
So, okay, you finally break free. You can move again, maybe you can even scream. But the experience? It's not over, not by a long shot. The terror leaves this psychological scar that can honestly last for years.
And the fear goes so much deeper than just the monster in the room. It's the monster that follows you into your own mind. It's that fear that maybe you're losing your grip on reality. It's the traumatic memory that makes your skin crawl even years later. And it's that absolute, unshakable feeling that what you experienced was real.
So the crucial point here is that the terror doesn't just end when you can finally move again. Sleep paralysis completely blurs the line between what's real and what isn't, and it leaves behind this lingering dread. People talk about being afraid to even go to sleep for weeks afterward, just terrified they might get trapped again in that state where anything horrible could happen at any second.
And really, that's the question that stays with you, isn't it? These stories are such a stark reminder that our own perception of reality can be, well, pretty fragile. It forces you to ask yourself, when your eyes are open, when your senses are telling you something is real, but your rational mind knows it can't possibly be, which one do you trust?